Good afternoon. It is a privilege to welcome you all to the Curtain Raiser program for the 6th session of the International Solar Alliance Assembly. The ISA is working towards developing and deploying cost-effective and transformational solar energy solutions to help countries develop low-carbon growth trajectories, with particular focus on delivering impact in least developed countries and small island developing states. The 6th Assembly brings together 116 member and signatory countries of the ISA, along with prospective countries, partner organizations, and other stakeholders. The Assembly is a forum for fostering dialogue and collaboration among nations to address the issues concerning solar deployment, brainstorming on ideas, and collaborating on various initiatives. Before we begin, I'd like to briefly talk to you about the agenda for today. First, we will provide you an update about the Assembly and what is going to happen, and have an interaction with our friends from the press here. Subsequently, we will request the press to join us for refreshments outside while we provide specific details about the Assembly to honorable delegates from missions and embassies. May I now invite Honorable Secretary of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Shri Bhupender Singh Bhalla, to deliver his opening remarks.
Honorable Minister for Power and New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, and the President of ISA Assembly, Director General ISA, Excellencies, friend from the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to this Curtain Raiser event for the 6th session of the International Solar Alliance Assembly. As you know, the International Solar Alliance was launched on 30th November 2015 by the Honorable Prime Minister of India and the Honorable President of France at the 21st session of the United Nations Climate Change Conference of the Parties, COP21 in Paris. The number of countries who have signed and ratified the ISA Framework Agreement has doubled from 47 to 94 since 2018. In addition, there are 22 countries which have signed the framework agreement and are now in the process of ratifying it. ISA's objective is to facilitate energy transition at the global level, energy security at the national level, and energy access at the local level. India firmly believes that these objectives will ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. We also believe that ISA is well suited to bring these changes in its member countries through its policies and programs. Through several programs that ISA has, ISA is tackling the lack of affordable finance and technical expertise in the ISA member countries. Such programs cover the complete spectrum of solar applications and technologies, which includes solar applications for sustainable agricultural use, solar mini grids, scaling solar rooftop, solar parks program, solar and battery waste management, and solar for green hydrogen. The International Solar Alliance is also providing financial assistance through grants of up to US $50,000 to support the setting up of demonstration projects and showcasing the remarkable potential of solar technology applications towards enriching the lives of individuals across ISA member nations. The deployment of solar energy capacity, particularly in the African region, would also require trained human resources. This is also being facilitated by ISA through its Solar Technology Application Research Center, the STAR-C initiative that has been launched. You would also may be aware that a virtual green hydrogen innovation center steered by ISA was launched at the Energy Transitions Ministerial meeting in July this year under the India's G20 presidency. We are very hopeful that this will become a one-stop platform regarding access to green hydrogen related knowledge repository, country insights, and developments in hydrogen space, global initiatives and missions, skill development and community engagement. As we move forward towards the 6th session of the ISA Assembly, India remains steadfast in its commitment for the expansion and strengthening of the International Solar Alliance. We will continue to collaborate, learn and grow along with other ISA member countries. On behalf of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, I again welcome you to this curtain raiser of the 6th session of the ISA Assembly. Let us continue to work together in the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam to achieve a greener and more sustainable future for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite our Director General, Dr. Ajay Mathur.
Honorable President of the ISA Assembly, Shri R.K. Singh, Minister for New and Renewable Energy and Power, Government of India, Shri B.K. Bhalla, Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, colleagues from the various diplomatic missions, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It's a proud privilege for us at the International Solar Alliance as we stand on the threshold of the 6th Assembly. For various reasons, this becomes an important way as we go ahead. As we move ahead, we recall, as Mr. Bhalla just mentioned, that we were launched at the Paris meeting in 2015, though it was 2018 by the time the first the signing of the framework agreement occurred. Next. Today, we have something of the order of 116 countries which have signed, and 3 more are in the process. One has ratified, but it will be a month before they come on board. There's a second which has just, as of this morning, ratified, so they'll become members, and the third will sign at the COP at the end of November. So there are 3 more which are going to happen, and we probably will have a 4th in December. Right now we are supporting the growth of the development of something like 9.5 gigawatts of projects across the world. But the more important issue is supporting the institutional development for these projects, which involves, for example, in some countries setting up the institutional infrastructure through which they carry out the bidding for these projects. In other countries, it has meant working with them on defining the regulations that would be needed to draw in finance. In other countries, it's about creating the demonstration projects and the capacity so that they can go ahead with running these projects. Next, please. There are various kinds of capacity building programs that are underway, and this is one of the things that will be discussed at the Assembly. We look forward to creating a lot more centers, the star centers as the Secretary mentioned, which are focused on the development of programs within the countries. So I would like to stress that the star centers and the development of national programs goes together. The star centers support the national development programs. And in the next year at the Assembly, we hope that we will see the approval of projects in various countries, Cote d'Ivoire, Bangladesh, Venezuela, Benin, Bhutan, and so on. There is also the Green Hydrogen Innovation Center that the Secretary mentioned. As far as the Green Hydrogen Innovation Center is concerned, we have had one set of training. The website with all the information is there and already running. We've had one training in Africa, which happened at the same time and at the same place as the African Green Hydrogen Association meeting, at the AGA meeting. And the next one is on the 17th of November. We are also moving ahead on supporting the COP presidency in the tripling of the renewable energy goal that has been set up, and are doing a solar stocktake which will complement the global stocktake that will occur during the COP meeting. As we go ahead, next please, we are also looking forward to looking at new programs, particularly something called Solar for She, which looks at women in renewable energy and in particular in solar. And our goal is that more and more of these women become entrepreneurs in the solar business. There are two global initiatives that were launched last year, which we will update the Assembly about this year: the Global Solar Facility and the SolarX Startup Challenge. The Startup Challenge identified 20 startups in the continent of Africa. This year we'll ask the Assembly for with a request to move to the continent of Asia this time. We thank you all for this interest in the Assembly, and may I request the Honorable President of the ISA Assembly to address us, and then I request the members of the press that if you have any questions, we will seek those. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ajay. Mr. B.S. Palla, the Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. Dr. Jay Mathur, the Director General of the International Solar Alliance. Ambassadors, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. The International Solar Alliance is an initiative which was launched jointly by us and France after COP21 in Paris. We believe that it has a seminal role to play in energy transition for a number of reasons. One, it is something which is focused only on renewables, and that also on solar. I can tell you from my experience, from our experience in this country, and our experience has been substantial. The rate of growth of renewable energy capacity in our country has been perhaps one of the highest in the world, if not the highest in the world. Already my renewable energy capacity is about 186,000 megawatts. I have an additional 132,000 megawatts under construction or under bid. And I intend to continue adding this capacity at the same rate because our economy is growing. We need a lot of electricity. My electricity demand is growing. It grew at 20% in August, again 20% in September. In October, it's been growing at 16%. So all that demand I'm meeting by adding renewables. 99% of that demand I'm meeting by adding renewables. So I have the experience, we have the experience. And we find that between various renewables, solar has the edge. It's much more dependable, much more reliable. It's available for more months in a year. We find that, except for the monsoon when the number of hours comes down, otherwise it's available for around the year, winter, summer. In our country, I don't know about the other countries, but in our country we find that wind is available mostly for 3 or 4 months in a year during the monsoon period. And in other months it is available at very the low CUF, and that also limited hours. So solar has this advantage, major advantage of being much more reliable and much more available than wind and on other renewables. And we find that solar is again something which is capable of being deployed in small sizes, which makes it the best suited for energy access for homes. When we launched our campaign to ensure universal access to energy, solar played a major role. Because there are many villages, many homes out in the hills or out in the deserts, which we lighted with solar and battery. So it has the advantage of being deployed in smaller sizes, kilowatt sizes. It has the ability to be deployed for specific villages in mini grids, specific towns. So for universal energy access, this is a solution. Solar is a solution. So that's why the salience of the International Solar Alliance. And that also the salience for the International Solar Alliance in energy transition in the south. Now that is where the challenge lies. The challenge lies in the 750 million people who do not have access to electricity. That is where the challenge lies. And I think it's also a challenge to the conscience of humankind. Here we are talking about energy transition, and we are talking about per capita energy consumption and per capita emissions. And here you have 750 million people who haven't had access to electricity, who don't have electricity. And the conscience of the world needs to be stirred. Because actually, even the past 5-6 years of the ISA's existence, we don't feel that surge of people coming forward, countries which are capable of helping, coming forward to help, to bring access to these people, to the millions and millions of people who are deprived access to energy. That has not happened as yet. Now it is our mission in the International Solar Alliance to get together all the people to help these 750 million. That's how we define our role. To help countries get access to electricity in remote areas, in areas which are deprived of energy, deprived of electricity. That's how we define as our what we define as our primary goal. And we believe that that is central to any energy transition. You can't have energy transition if you have millions of people without access. And any access they have will be using biomass, cutting trees, will be at the expense of the planet, unless and until we provide them clean access. That is what the International Solar Alliance has been doing. What we do here is we help the countries in a number of ways. We help them with expertise. We have a panel of experts, so we advise countries as to how to go about doing electrification using solar. That is one. We help them to set up structures, regulatory structures, and without these structures you can't have an electricity system. For an electricity system you need structures. You need regulatory structures, you need structures in terms of generation being linked to transmission, being linked to distribution. So physical structures and regulatory structures, all these are linked. So we advise them with that. We advise them, we make available experts who go and help them doing that. And we bear the cost. The International Solar Alliance bears the cost. And we help the countries also by carrying out projects, small projects, so that we can demonstrate in those countries as to how useful these are. Now, up till now, most of these projects have been like solarizing of health centers. Now, that's huge. Why is it huge? Because you can keep your vaccines for longer. The vaccines need a cold chain. You can do that, using solar and battery. So suddenly, this becomes a lifesaver. We have projects for lighting up schools, primary schools. We have projects for cold chain for the agriculture, small cold storages for agricultural use. And all these have a major impact in the countries where these are set up. But the most important contribution which we want to make, which we need to make, is to make sure that investment goes to these countries. And to do that, we have decided to set up a fund which will provide security for these investments. Only then will investments go. So an insurance fund, if you will, a payment security fund, if you will, so that people, the developers, those who are in the business of setting up capacities can go and set up capacity, with a confidence that whatever investments they make will yield results and they'll get paid for it. Now, that depends on setting up the structures, which we advise on, and that depends on putting in place payment security mechanisms. Now, these are not expensive. Payment security mechanism is to give confidence, to reduce risk, to de-risk, as they say. So, we keep on telling the countries that come and contribute to this payment security mechanism. We are contributing, our country is contributing. But the International Solar Alliance is on a mission. And we believe that this mission is absolutely, absolutely vital for energy transition. It's absolutely vital for the planet Earth, that we carry out, the access to energy using clean and green methods. Today also we are inaugurating some projects. Are we doing it, or we'll do it at the General Assembly? So I've already inaugurated remotely some projects in different countries. In fact, on one of the projects which we are going to inaugurate on the 30th will be a parliament building. In Malawi will be a parliament building which has been solarized and all these. We feel good doing it. And I'm quite sure that your countries will also feel good if they participate. They'll feel that they have actually done something for the planet. The organization has grown. Now we have almost 194 signatories. And 194?
120, sir.
124 signatories, and out of that 94 have ratified. Okay. So some are left for ratification, and this is much bigger than other the organizations, much bigger than the International Energy Agency, for example, which has a membership of 35 countries or something like that. That's it. So that's a huge. It's it is actually international. It is actually intercontinental, and it's growing. It's growing. It will continue to grow, and we believe that it has a very important role to play, a very salient role to play in energy transition. Thank you. We expect a number of ministers, a number of and of course the participation, the registration is already about how much?
168 have already registered, of which 20 are ministers.
168 countries have already registered to participate. This group, and this is an alliance across the spectrum. The countries, multilateral development banks, and other organizations which are in this field, energy access and energy transition. So it's going to be big. We propose to hold it in Mandapam, which has just hosted G20, which is great. You will like it. It is really impressive. We are proud of it. And I'm quite sure that this organization will actually make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The floor is now open for questions from media. I have 3 points. One, please mention your name and organization before you ask your question. Please keep your questions relevant to solar and ISA, and please keep them short.
Prabhat Shukla, and I am from BW Business World. Sir, as we know that, is that?
You are from which?
Business.
BW Business World magazine.
BW Business World, yeah.
Yes, sir. So in 2021, ISA got UN's observer status, and as we know, ISA is a member-driven firm organization. So do you think that UN's observer status will impact this ideology or approach anyhow? And if it is going to impact it, then in what ways is going to impact? Thank you, sir.
No, I don't see this as impacting our ideology or approach, and we find that the whole world is with us in our ideology. The whole world is with us, one with our ideology. And what this will do, the observer status, is that it will enable us to group in more countries to become our members and to work with us to drive access and to drive energy transition. So it is an enabler.
So Jacob Koshi from the Hindu newspaper. One question from...
Distance for the mic, please. Keep your mic.
Yeah, Jacob from... It's clear now? So one question for Mr. Mathur. You mentioned in your address regarding a solar stock take on the lines of the global stock take in COP28. Could we have some more details on that? Is it some way to also kind of push countries to increase their solar target in some way? Any details on that? And for Minister Sir, I would like one question is, recently we saw this this dam, the Chungtang Dam, that was broken thanks to a GLOF event in Sikkim. Given the destruction of capital that has happened, and of course along with loss of lives, etc., does it make a stronger case for having solar or solar projects instead of relatively riskier dam projects, given that such catastrophic events are only more likely in the future? Thank you.
So you can answer about the solar stock take, then I'll answer about the dam. But as far as the stock take is concerned, let me tell you one thing, that in the various forum where I visited about the stock take about what has happened in energy transition around the world, there are two or three things need to stand out. One is that as of today, there is almost complete unanimity across the world that energy transition has to happen. Now there are no naysayers. There's nobody who now questions the reality of climate degradation, or nobody questions that. And everybody is convinced that we need to transition as quickly as possible. We need to reduce our emissions as quickly as possible. The second thing is that the pace of energy transition or the pace of emissions reduction is not as fast as it needs to be. The third is that time is running out. Especially if we want to limit the rise in global temperature to 1.5 degrees, the time is running out. The global temperature has already risen by 1.01 degrees already. Now, these are given. I'll not go to individual countries and, whether they have contributed enough, whether they need to contribute more in their NDCs. I'll not go into that, individual countries. But this is the overall thing. Insofar as transition is concerned, solar is playing a major role. The capacity additions in solar outstrip capacity additions in every other form of renewable energy. Okay, so this is happening. Ajay, you want to add?
Sir, I'll follow up on what the minister said. There's a huge amount of investment occurring in solar. Last year it was $310 billion. This year it's $380 billion expected. This compares favorably with the highest investments in the electricity generation sector at the height of the fossil fuel boom. So these are large numbers. The problem that we are seeing in the solar area are three. One is that most of this investment is occurring in the OECD countries and China. Consequently, we need to address how the rest of the world will go ahead with solar. That's one point. The second is, most of this is going towards large solar. We need to also focus on how do we get small solar, like solar rooftops, solar mini grids, solar cold storages, etc. off the ground. And the third is there is a concentration of manufacturing in one or two countries, and we need to focus how do we make this more geographically diversified than otherwise. So these are some of the very early lessons that are coming out. We will have the full solar stocktake report in about a month.
So the dam. Now, we're talking about the role of solar and hydro. Now, hydro has an essential role to play in energy transition. Why? Because the sun doesn't shine 24/7. Number two, it is intermittent. Wind is also intermittent. You need to, and we are operating large volumes of both solar and wind, huge volumes. And to balance the grid, it is absolutely to have sources of energy which are quick ramp up and quick ramp down. And there, hydro has a role to play. In hydro, by and large, you have hydro capacities existing for hundreds of years across the world. And many countries have 70-80% of their energy coming from hydro. developed countries as well. They have above 50% of their capacity is coming from hydro, and it's working well. It's stable, working well. Some places, what happens is that you have freak incidents like this, like what happened in Chungthang, where you had a burst, a Glof incident, as they say, and this incident happened. What we had done is that that we had put in place mechanisms to have early warning systems for hydro projects, so that you know when a flood is coming and you can open the gates. The idea is to open the gates. If you find that the flood is so big that your dam will not be able to contain it, you open the gates so that the flood goes down. In this, it seems that the early warning system either was not in place or did not function, but we are going into that. That is there. But by and large, hydro is something which has stood the test of time. We have hydro projects which have been functioning since the 60s, 70s. I mean, BBMB was set up early 60s, early 70s, and it is Bhakra Byas management, Bhakra Byas system. You know, the dams and the irrigation systems and the power generation systems. And they have been responsible for the prosperity of Punjab, Haryana, etc. They are the reason why green revolution was possible in Punjab and Haryana, etc. So we are not going to write off hydro as yet. Yeah. Any other?
Hello, I am Rahul Trivedi from Sputnik News.
From?
Sputnik News.
Sputnik, yeah.
So I have a couple of questions. First is that what is the roadmap?
Mic at a distance, yeah.
What is the roadmap which ISA has prepared for financing the solar energy? And second is that the G20 declaration has put the onus on ISA to build a green hydrogen innovation center. So what has been the progress on that front?
Now, two things. One is about financing. Now, earlier, a year back, 2 years back, we toyed with the idea of setting up a multilateral development bank for solar. We haven't given up on that idea as yet. But at the same time, we felt that this is one thing. But investments will come if you de-risk investments. The risks for investments in most of the developing countries are of two types. One, of course, is against expropriation, nationalization. So that is one risk, the sovereign risk they call it. The other risk is the risk for payment, that I'll generate electricity, I'll supply electricity, whether I'll get paid or not. Now these risks need to be covered. So there are two instruments for covering it. One is insurance and the other is payment security mechanisms. So we decided to put these in place. So we set up a committee, a group of experts who gave us recommendations about what the structure of the fund should be. We have that recommendation, and we've started we've decided to operationalize it. So India will be contributing to that fund, and we expect other people also to contribute. The outgo from the fund will be limited. It's an insurance. And anybody who sets up a project and wants coverage from that insurance or from that payment security mechanism will of course have to contribute. We have similar payment security mechanisms in our country. For Solar Energy Corporation of India, SECI, we have put in place a payment security mechanism. So that works. Nobody has had occasion to draw from it because the bills are paid, but it's there and it gives a confidence to the investor. So similarly, we need such mechanisms in other developing countries where we want investments to flow. Ultimately, investments will have to flow because it's beyond any country's own budget to set up the huge capacities required by themselves. The private sector investment is required. So that's why this fund is critical. And G20 declaration, as far as hydrogen is concerned, yes, we are setting up that center in the Solar Alliance. At the same time, our country has emerged as a major sort of force in green hydrogen, because we already have about 5.8 million tons of green hydrogen capacity being set up in different corners of our country. That was natural because we have a huge renewable energy capacity. We are adding huge renewable energy capacity. So our, the renewable energy sort of system is big, it's capable. So the ecosystem which we have makes the manufacturing of green hydrogen cheaper for us. We set up renewable energy capacity at the least cost in the world, $600,000 per megawatt. So the ecosystem helps us. So we already have this. Now the International Solar Alliance is also setting up a center on this. Ajay, you will add?
So the center has already been set up. You can go and visit the site. It has information, it has links to almost every country of the world, what they are doing in hydrogen. Remember, this is something all of us are learning together. But the second part is of training, because ultimately you need people who can set up. So certified training is something that is being offered through the center. We have had one such training at the African Green Hydrogen Association meeting. We are having a second one on the 17th of November. There's a third part which is not yet in place but is being put in place, and that is a matchmaking between green hydrogen developers on the one side and green hydrogen funders on the other side. But hopefully by the end of next month, before the COP, we will get that working as well.
We can take two more questions and then we'll wrap up.
Basically for green hydrogen, there are two things which are essential. We must understand where we are at as humankind, as Homo sapiens, as they say. One of course is the renewable energy. Now the renewable energy ecosystem is in place. Most countries is in place now, and the efficiencies are increasing. So efficiencies of solar modules have gone up to 24%, 25%. So the ecosystem for renewable energy is in place. The other is electrolyzers. Now electrolyzer manufacturing capacity is very limited. Not limited, it's very limited. So that we have to add that. And we are adding to that capacity. We have floated a bid for setting up manufacturing capacities for electrolyzers in our country. We have a production linked incentive. So anybody comes and sets up capacity for manufacturing electrolyzers, we'll give him an incentive per unit sold. And we believe that other countries are also expanding their manufacturing capacities. Right now, the electrolyzer manufacturing capacity is very, very limited. So that's one problem which the world, which we have to solve. There's another route. This is the green hydrogen. There's another route, and that route is clean hydrogen. Now, clean hydrogen you make from natural gas by taking out carbon dioxide from that. Of course, the downside is that for every kilogram of clean hydrogen, you release 11 kilograms of carbon dioxide. So you need mechanisms to capture that 11 kilograms and sequester it or use it somewhere else. So with CCUS, clean hydrogen will be possible. Now CCUS has been tried out and is being tried out. And so we have had successful pilots around the world. We've also had a successful pilot in our country. So CCUS is another thing, provided you sequester it safely so that it does not leak back out. So that is an assurance which the planet will need. I mean, humankind, Homo sapiens, all of us will need that, confidence that if you sequester CO2, it doesn't go back out. So there are these two routes. So it's actually green and clean. Now, the preponderance of preference is for green hydrogen. That's what I have noticed. Most of the queries which we are getting, and we are signing agreements with a number of countries, is for green hydrogen.
Hello, am I audible? Yeah. So I'm Luther Bello from Bloomberg News, and I was wondering, during the G20, countries came together. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
G20?
Yeah, during the G20, there was a lot of conversation around an alternative alliance of countries that can offer an option alternative to the BRI in China. So it's a trade alliance and also an energy alliance. I was wondering how the ISA plans for expansion and India's plans for a global grid feature into this plan for expansion, and could they provide an alternative to China's energy dominance with a specific focus towards the Middle East?
Okay. Now, the supply chain came to center stage during COVID. You had a disruption of supply chain. You had an energy crisis. And the disruption was huge. Now that made the world sick up and start talking about the resilience of supply chains. So every international agreement you come across now, it talks about supply chains. Now we also felt that problem. What we are doing is that we are adding manufacturing capacity. So the supply chain issue is across the spectrum of energy transition. If you are talking about solar, the supply chain problem begins from polysilicon. Now 88% of polysilicon manufacturing capacity is in one country, China. 88% of the total world's capacity is in one country. You are talking about manufacturing of cells and modules from polysilicon. Again, 80% of that capacity is in one country. So we started adding volumes. We came out with a production linked incentive bid for setting up manufacturing capacities from polysilicon to wafers to cells and modules, and those bids have been successful. Now, as of now, we have about 50,000 megawatts of manufacturing capacity under different stages. 40,000 megawatts of module manufacturing capacity already has been established. 25,000 from before, 15,000 has been added. By the end of 2030, we'll have about 100,000 megawatts of manufacturing capacity from polysilicon to modules. Out of that, the full cycle polysilicon to module will be about 50,000. And the remaining 50,000 would be, the cells and modules, wafer cells and modules. So we've already started emerging as an alternate, reliable alternate to China as far as cells and modules are concerned. Our exports from our country are near about $700 billion already this year, and it will go up to about $1.5 billion, etc. So we've already started emerging as an alternative to that one country, and as we proceed, our manufacturing capacities will go up. Actually, what made us do this was that we had a small manufacturing capacity. Then after that, we had dumping. So we felt the need to protect our industry. So we put safeguard tariffs. That didn't work. So we put tariffs. The tariffs are huge, 40% on modules, 25% on cells. But they were necessary. They were necessary, so we put them. And we have our manufacturing capacity which is coming up. It will come up in all spheres. Then again you have the problem, not only that, you have the problem of storage. So again, guess where the 90% of the manufacturing capacity of storage lies. Guess, one country. So you need storage if you want round the clock renewable energy. So we are building up capacity for storage. We had a production incentives scheme for storage based on lithium ion, and now we are going to have another. There's another problem. So for lithium ion batteries, you need lithium. Now again, 80 to 90% of lithium reserves have been tied up by one country. So, and we are lucky that we found lithium in one of our states. So we will going to have a bid for starting that mining. But we, again, as humankind, we need to invest in researching other alternatives like sodium ion, and we need to do this together as humankind, because it's survival of this species, you and us. Yeah.
We'll take one last question.
Hi, I'm Harshit Seth from Times Now. My question is, I'm here. Yeah. So I'm Harshit Seth from Times Now. My question is straight. What efforts Government of India and ISA are doing to make small solar affordable in the grassroots areas, grassroots levels, as there is less promotion of small solar contributing in the solar projects? Sir also mentioned about it. So how?
That is something which has been worrying us, the low rate of acceptance of rooftop. So we thought, and this is despite the fact that up to 3 kilowatts, we give 40% subsidy. 40% of the cost, we give as subsidy, so that people can put a rooftop. And from 3 kilowatts to 10 kilowatts, we give 20%. So if you are setting up a capacity of, let's say, 5 kilowatts, for 3 kilowatts you will get 40%, and the remaining 2 you will get 20%. But we found that the rate at which it was coming up was very slow. So we put one total national sort of website we put in place, where you could go and click if you want to set up a rooftop. You will get a list of options of the people who have been impaneled, the impaneled developers, and you can select the type of module you want, the type of inverter you want, etc. And everything happens, automatically. So you say yes, the integrator visits your home, he draws up a plan, you agree to it, he sets it up, and that is uploaded, and we release the subsidy directly. So that has started working, and we are looking as to how to make it more popular, this site, this website, how to make it more popular. So we'll come out with a communication plan, give it 2 or 3 months, you will see hoarding on every corner saying that go solar, put a rooftop and bring your electricity costs down. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I now request the friends from media to join us for refreshments outside. We will now be briefing.
Thank you.
We will now be briefing delegates from the missions about the assembly and the logistics concerned with it. May I request Dr. Mathur to talk to the embassies, please.
Let me begin this while our friends from the media leave the room and join us for refreshments. Let me start with the briefing as far as the program is concerned for our colleagues from the missions. First of all, on the 30th of October, we will be looking forward to the arrival of the delegates. There are various bilateral, can we go to the next slide please? There will be various bilateral meetings that would be possible with the Honorable President of the ISA and with, before this. This is day 3, let's look at day 1, day 0. So on the 30th, we will be looking at bilateral meetings with the President of ISA and the Director General of the ISA. We will also have a dinner which is hosted for the delegates who are here on the 30th. This will be in the Ashok Hotel. We will then move to the 31st when we have the assembly. It will begin with the inaugural session. Then it will be followed by a group photographs of the heads of delegations. This will be followed by the 6th assembly, which will be held. Some agenda items, 16 agenda items, will be taken up before lunch and the rest after lunch. This would be followed by the presidential dinner, also at the Ashoka in the lawns outside, and a cultural program. We have requested the Indian music band, Indian Ocean, to play at the cultural program. On the day 2 of the meeting, we will have the high-level event on new technologies for the clean energy transition. That's on the 1st of November. There we will be releasing the 3 reports on solar energy, on solar technology, on solar investments, and on solar markets. So this will be the 2nd edition. The 1st edition was released last year at the Assembly. And there will be there will be a discussion session on new technologies, which includes technologies such as batteries, which also includes technologies such as the new materials for the basis on which the solar cells are based. And there will be then sessions on the solar PV resilient supply chains, which the Honorable Minister just spoke about, and then on storage. So this is on the 2nd day, which is on the 1st of November. On the third day, which is on the 2nd of November, there will be a site visit to look at the PV installation at the Akshardham temple in New Delhi, which is completely powered by solar. If you remember last year at the assembly, we had visited the Delhi airport, which during the day uses solar energy and during the night buys electricity from hydro. So it's a completely green system. The Akshardham temple generates electricity, stores it, and uses it for 24 hours. Now, what we will, this is as far as the program is concerned. Let me also spend a couple of minutes on the logistics. First of all, as far as the logistics are concerned, for the countries which are the least developed countries and the small island developing states, we will be providing air tickets to the Honorable Minister and a ticket to the national focal point. So we will be providing 2 tickets to each LDC and SITS. In addition to the delegations from the LDC and SITS countries, we will be providing hotel accommodation for 3 nights, and a chauffeur-driven car would be provided to the minister and to the delegation. In case any other delegation wants facilitation, not the air tickets, not the cost of the hotel, but they want facilitation, including the fact that you need a car or liaison officers, please let us know, and we will arrange that. Next, please. Now, in the venue, there is seating space for the head of delegation and 2 more delegates. So 3 members of each delegation will be seated inside. The head of delegation, whether it's the minister or somebody else, will get a special badge. If it's the minister, he or she will get a gold badge. If it's a non-minister heading the delegation, they'll get a red badge. All other delegation members get a green badge. Now, we will provide every delegation with 2 purple overpasses. These are the 2 people apart from the head of delegation who can be in the venue. So wear the blue badge and wear the purple overpass as well, and then you can get into the venue. So I repeat, 3 people from every delegation in the conference room, the head of delegation with a red or gold badge, and 2 delegates, but they have to have purple overpasses. And the purple overpasses can be exchanged between people in the delegation, so that at one point of time there's one person, at another point of time there's another person. Other delegation members can watch from the overflow room, which will have live streams of the proceedings in the conference rooms. The badges will be screened as people come into the venue. It's a fast screening system. There will be a QR code on the badge which will be screened by the ushers, and immediately it will provide all the details. Next, please. Now, as I said, we are looking to the head of delegation in the conference room. Our expectation is that the ambassador and the national focal point may accompany them, but it's completely up to the delegation to decide who would be in the room apart from the head of delegation. We will have arrangements for simultaneous interpretation into Arabic, English, French, and Spanish during the assembly. So you will get headsets, and by setting the headsets on the appropriate channel, you can hear what the proceedings in any of these 4 languages. The bags will be available for distribution at the Ashoka Hotel from the 28th, am I right? From the 27th of October. The embassies can pick up the bags, we would request that the embassies carry an authorized